this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you.
Welcome back, G Squad members. Pep's Too Cool here, and the game that you are seeing on the screen right now, this is a game called Diablo 3. I refer to it as D3. I have been playing this game since D1. I played Diablo 1, I played Diablo 2, and now we just seen Diablo 4 at BlizzCon, which prompted me to make this video. I've played at the highest level. This right here, I think it was like rank 27, rank 26, rank 28, rank 29, something like that. Because I think the system in D3 was every four got their own thing. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4 was one team, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was the next team, 10, 11, 12, 13 was the next team. So we was basically like the top 5 4-man teams in the world at that point. We actually got to second place that season. And my friend Turger, he ended up being on the first place team because I ended up quitting that season. And right here, you can see I hit rank 1 on the twos and Diablo 3. I just showed these two things just to show that I do play the game at a high level. I have met a bunch of people in the community, not like in real life, but like over Discord or whatever, whatnot. So basically, I want to, I just wanted to say everything that I'm saying comes from love of the game and me wanting the game to be better. A lot of people, they just hate on the game. Okay, so this wish list that I'm putting together is what I would like D4 to have in it. So the first thing I would like to say is I want to take away the smart loot system. Uh, Now I understand like the feel of not being able to get the item you want, and man, that sucks. And I really want that item, but smart loot to me ruined the game. Smart loot made the system where the the game was less about items and more about the grind because you got your items like the first day you played the game. After you played the game for a week, you got like every item you'll ever need. You're decked out. All you're doing now is trying to get little minor upgrades. Okay, so I'll give you an example of what it felt like to me to play Diablo. Like whether it was Diablo 1, whether it was Diablo 2, whether it was Diablo 3 before the smart loot system. You and your friends from school or from work, you guys been doing Bell runs or Mephisto runs, or if you're playing Diablo 3, you're doing Act 2 runs, or you're doing Act 3 runs. You was on your sorcerer and you got a barbarian thing and you was just like, man, I'm gonna make a barbarian now. Like that feel was something that was in part Diablo 1, and then it went to Diablo 2, and then like it was in Diablo 3, but then like the smart loot system came into play, and the smart loot system made the game more about the grind and less about the actual items. You know what I'm saying? So I would like a return back to like the game being about the items. What I'm going to talk about now is monetization and how content is brought into the game. He already said that they're going to bring content to the game by expansions. I was just hoping that we could expand on that and not only do expansions, but we could do some type of service fee or whatever, like we pay monthly subscription or whatever, where we will be guaranteed content throughout the year, so it's not just content that comes out once every 2 years, or every 3 years or whenever they're going to come out, but it's also like content that comes out 3 or 4 months, 5 months from now, or whenever a new area of the map has been revealed, and now there's content over here. We got to go into this area to get the content. And the new gear might be a lower item level to start with, but it helps you in that area because you take less damage with the items in that area. And if you use items from outside of the area, you take more damage and you do less damage. So you're pushed to farm this new content. But then by the end, if you keep grinding over such and such amount of time, you'll acquire all the stuff you need, and maybe you'll have chances to unlock other gear without having to just scale items up and up and up. We gotta Diablify it, so it could be something like you come into the area and every day, or once a week, you got a weekly that you got to come over here and kill 2,000 creatures or something in this little area, or you got a daily in this area over here, and then they just keep bringing more and more stuff like that into the game. As months and months go on, it's not just a thing that happens only when we have expansions. So I just feel like subscription is the way to go, with expansions as well. What we want truly is a game that's fully immersive and steadily evolving. We don't want a game that you release to us and then a year down the line we still playing the same exact content. 2 years down the line we're still playing the exact content. There hasn't been any updates except, oh, we tweaked armor or we tweaked damage on this item. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, boys, is the max level in the game. So, from the lead director, he told us the max level in the game right now for what they're planning for is 40. Now, not to be disrespectful or whatever like that or whatever, maybe there's some games that being level 40 is like, yes, I made it to level 40. But level 40 doesn't seem really good in a game to me. Not something I want to play long term. Yeah, I'm level 40. Personally, I would like to go back to the Diablo 2 system where we tried to reach to be 99, and that was like really, really cool or whatever like that. Um, or maybe they could do a system where we start off at 80 and then, maybe throughout the year they allow us to get closer to 99 or something like that. I don't know. That would be cool, because I like the concept of not being a max level. Like, oh, I gotta be level 50, and once I get to level 50, I can get all my set pieces. Like, I don't like that whole aspect. But if we are gonna have a max level, 40 just ain't enough. At least make it something like 80 or 75. Anything lower than 75 just seems low. It just feels like you're not powerful. Why would I want such a low number? PvP wise, I really would like the PvP of Diablo 2 to come back. I really think that's awesome. But now since we're in an open world, I just wanted to say that, if you're in a 4-man group, you shouldn't be able to just run up on one person. You know what I'm saying? Just roll them like that. I mean, that would be really lame. So hopefully they can fix it where, like, if you're in a 4-person group, you're in a 4-man server. If you're in a 3-person group, you're in a 3-man server. You're in a 2-person group, you're in a 2-man server. Or so what, so on like that, because, I just really feel like that would be super lame if you're playing by yourself and, there is no offline mode, so you can only play online now. And, you know, uh, you run it through the world and you're just trying to kill some bad guys, and then the 4 guys in a group run up on you and just, you know what I mean? Like, that's lame. The next thing we want to talk about trading. Now, I understand that why you don't want an auction house. Now, you want to allow trading in the game, but you don't want to have an auction house. I feel like that's kind of like like counterintuitive. If you're gonna allow trading in the game, you should allow people to be able to trade without a third party system trading for them. I shouldn't have to go to like some third party website and put in my stuff, kind of the way, Path of Exile does it. Like, there should just be something in the game to allow me to trade whenever I want to trade. If you want to call it an auction house, call it an auction house. If you want to call it a slaughterhouse, call it a slaughterhouse. But I am all for trading and a auction house. I do believe that the real money auction house does have a place. Now, I don't want to, if I have an item. One thing that I always knew about D3 or D2 or any of the Diablo games, like, if I found an item and, it was worth something, I could sell it. And I think that's part of what makes Diablo what Diablo was, bro. It's that gift and that curse. You know what I'm saying? You sitting in front of that computer grinding and grinding and grinding, and then you get some object that's worth like $60. And you know what I'm saying? You sell it and you're like, man, I just made $60 to your friend. I think the fact that this is an adult game, it should have adult concepts in it. So trading is something that should be allowed. Personally, I'm for all types of trading, whether it be the highest is the highest gear or the lowest of the lowest gear, you should be able to trade whatever. Now, personally, I feel like Blizzard, if they had an auction house, it would be a safe place to have real money auction house and an in-game currency auction house. But for a company to just be like, oh well, the auction house went bad last time, so we're not gonna do an auction house, and then now we have to do like these interactions with these third-party sites. It's like I feel like that's not safe. That's not smart. Okay, so the next section here, boys, we're gonna talk about transmogs. So I know everybody like to make their character look all nice and fancy and stuff like that, right? That's cool and everything like that. But if you're gonna have open world PvP, when I see you, I need to know what you got on and what you rocking. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have to be like, oh is he a frost or is he a fire or what I'm saying? Is he what is what I mean? Like I should be able to tell that that's a assassin, mid tier assassin from a distance. I shouldn't have to click on you and see what type of gear you have. I should just be able to look at you and see, that you have this gear on. And that's a mid tier or that's high tier or that's low tier. I know people like transmogrifications and stuff like that, and that's all cool and everything like that. But personally, I feel like when you in the open world, I should be able to identify who I'm going up against. It shouldn't be a mystery. I don't feel like that's a thing. So yeah. The second thing I want to say about that also is that if you're a top tier player, right, in any game, whether it's World of Warcraft, whether it's Lost Ark, whether it's you're playing League of Legends or whatever game you play. If you're a top tier player, you probably have a skin or a border or something that shows that you are a top tier player, right? Well, for Diablo 4 or for just Diablo games in general, your gear is how you show off. Now, yes, I do agree that you should have a topless mode where if you don't want to have your armor showing, you should be able to show your top because some people like to run around like that. That's cool and everything like that. But, if I've done some achievement in the game that, 99% of the people in the world haven't done, I should be standing out. I should be like, yeah, 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 yeah. I got this. Yeah. I think being able to just transmog anything into anything takes away from the, just the fun of the game, honestly. And if you're gonna bring transmogs into the game, don't do it right away. Do it after a while. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I don't want to seem disrespectful here, but like when I was watching the demo, every time an enemy would get hit, like this white light would just burst from their body, like their body would just blink white. I'm not really into that. Like I feel like that's very like cartoony like ish. I know the first like RPG games like that came out on like Nintendo, like uh uh was it the Turtle games and stuff like that, and Bart Simpson games. Those games inspired this game, but like everything it just turning white like that. It just seems like, especially when we start attacking really fast. I don't want everything just being like all over the screen like that. I just feel like that's just too much. The next thing I would like is leaderboards to be brought back, and not just leaderboards like, oh, what's the top 1,000 people or whatever that did this or did that or did this. I wanted to also have like my friends leaderboard where, okay, like there's some people that's gonna be casual at the game, okay, and so these players they might only make it to, say, the max level is 80. They might make it to level 80, but they never finish all the dungeons. You see what I'm saying? So, they're not competing at the highest levels, but what dungeon they did complete, is a higher level than, their their friend Jimmy, and their friend Jimmy's done like a 50 and they've done like a 59. That's just, I'm just saying numbers out, you know, and so there should be some leaderboard between just you and your friends, so you can compare with you and your friends. You know, I just feel like that's a really cool thing. You know, leaderboard shouldn't just all be about who's the number one in the world. It should also be who's the number one between you and your friends. The next thing I would like in Diablo 4 is whatever way they do greater rifts, let's not do time limits. You know, whatever greater rift system they have in the game, let it not be about time limits. When you make it about a time limit of how, it's about how fast can you get through this thing. It's like you really limit what builds you can make, because now everybody, it's all about how much damage can I push out of this thing, at hyper speed. When it's about how far can you go, then if this person want to build like some hyper speed build where he's doing like this insane amount of damage, but he might be a little squishy, and then I might want to build a build as I'm tanky and not doing as much damage. You know what I'm saying? Can I actually survive? Or maybe I got a pet build or something like that. I think that's really, really cool. I don't think it should always be about how fast can you go. The next thing I want to talk about is legendary drops. And the thing I want to talk about is um, a lot of people, they like the idea of like in Diablo 2 you would do a bell run or this type of run or whatever. And some people, they like the fact that I could do a greater rift anywhere and anything to drop. I personally, I like the fact that anything could drop anywhere, but I am keen to certain items only dropping from certain people, or certain areas having a higher rate of a certain item maybe dropping. Like, let me give you an instance like this. Like, so any item can drop out of this boss, right? But this boss particularly, right? He might have a 3% extra chance to drop a certain item or a certain combination of items. Now, the legendary you want, it might not drop, and the boss, he might not even drop a legendary, but you have a higher chance at getting it at this boss. Or, like when you play in PoE, they have like a thing called a shaper. And when you beat the shaper, there's items that you could get that you can use for materials, and certain items that will drop that only the shaper drops, or the Uber shaper drops, which I think is a really cool idea. Like, so these items are really good. They're not necessarily the greatest items in the universe, but they make builds complete, and they can be really, really strong as well. Now, the next thing I would like would be personal housing, clan housing, and yeah, personal housing and clan housing. I think it would be really, really cool. Okay, there's a game called DC Universe Online, and if you're in like a guild, they have like a thing called a guild hall, and you go in there, and it's this huge building. It's obviously in an instance. You go in, it's like an instance, but it's this huge building, and you can put more halls into it, and people can pay like in-game currency to put like their achievement statues all over this thing. And so when you walk around it, you can see like all the different people, they're doing their little poses because they've achieved this victory, or beat this raid, or they beat this boss, and it's right there for everybody to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that whole aspect is so cool. I think Diablo 4 would be primed for something like that. Okay, so I want to talk about PvP, and not in game, free roam PvP. I'm talking about something in some sort of arena setting. So what I was gonna talk about was man, it's been a while since I played WoW, but in WoW they have like PvP settings where PvP games or whatever, where you go from, there's one people on one side and there's another people on the other side, and they go from location to location, getting closer and closer together, taking over locations, and then when y'all meet, y'all have a fight, and you try to see who can take over the most bases by the end of the time limit, who gets the most points win. I think something like that would be super perfect for Diablo 4. Okay, where we get like a it could be like a 4-on-4 situation. It also could be like a big thing too, where you could have like 12-on-12 or 16-on-16, where it would be like this huge map, and you would just take over places, capture the flag here, capture the flag there, and you would just kill people and try to capture the flag. And there would be bots in between, so there would be minions. You would have to kill all these minions just to get to the castle, and then there would be like a boss inside of the castle. You kill those bosses, and then you get the flag, and then you go to the next one, and it would just be really cool. They could also do something like Lost Ark, where you have like 3-on-3, but you don't fight 3-on-3. You fight 1-on-1, and then the next person fights the next person, and then the next person fights the next person, and do whoever wins out of those 3v3 people, they win the round. One of the things I wanted to talk about was itemization. Now, for itemization, what I specifically want to talk about was this concept that you could get a blue item, right? And this blue item, is a magical item. And this magical item, it could have a magical stat on it that's really, really impressive. You could also get a gold item that had a magical effect on it. But you might choose to use the blue item because the blue item has the magical effect you want, even though your gold item had better stats. But you found a blue item that had, say, this item had a magical effect called destruction, and this destruction made you super tanky or something like that, and reduce a lot of physical damage. And I might have a bunch of gold items, right? But none of my gold items have destruction on it. And so I'm still using my blue item that has destruction on it. Also, a thing about items that I wanted was no damage modifiers on legendary items and stuff like that. Okay, so what I mean by that is Cinder Coat. Cinder Coat gives you what, like 20% extra fire damage or whatever like that, or Mage Fist gives you like 25% extra fire damage, stuff like that. We don't want stuff like that in the game. We don't want these base damage modifiers like that. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a damage modifier that you could put on a item without it actually being just a pure damage. Okay, so you can have an item that says Frostbolt is tripled in size, right? Now that doesn't necessarily increase the damage, but what it does do is, with good gameplay and you being able to group mobs up together and then hitting them with the Frostbolt, you would theoretically increase your damage by a lot. Or you can have it say like a magic item drops, right? And the magic item says +1 to Hydras. And so you would get +1 to your Hydra skill. Or the item, if it's rare and they roll really good, it can say something like +1 to Hydras and +1 extra Hydra at a time. So you could have 2 Hydras, and you get +1 Hydra or whatever to your skills. So in fact, like the way they would have it in Diablo 2, I don't know the exact numbers, but say you could put 10 points into Hydras. That +1 or those +2 points into Hydras would increase your damage like incredibly. Also, there was a thing in Diablo 2 where you didn't have to spend your skill points until you wanted to spend your skill points. So say you was level 10, and that means you got 1 skill point every time you leveled up. You had 10 skill points, but you only used 5 of those skill points because something that you wanted that was unlocked at like level 20. You were saving your points up for, so when you got to level 20, you could dump a bunch of points into this one thing because that's the way you wanted to make your build. Okay, you wanted a firewall build, or you wanted a firewalk build, or you wanted some frost build, or you wanted some whatever build, whatever build you wanted. You could customize your own build because you could make different things on the skill tree as strong as you wanted to. And plus the itemizations that I was just speaking about, where you have +1 to certain stats or +2 to certain stats, or the way you could do it is you can make whatever build you wanted. So you didn't have to necessarily use any of the meta builds. This was what was so good about D2 was, yeah, there were meta builds. There was the builds that were the best, and still people argue over what was technically the best of the best. But you can build however you really wanted to, and you can still be successful. Now, personally, I think this is way better of a system than the way they do it in PoE. Okay, PoE has a system where they have this skill tree, and you could go along this skill tree however you really want to or whatever. But honestly, it's an illusion of choice. You don't really have a choice, because if you want to make this specific build, you need to go to the one-handed section. If you need a two-handed build, you need to go to the two-handed section. If you wanted to go to the arcane side, you need to go over here to the arcane side. If you want to go to the fire side, then you need to go over here to the fire side. If you want to go to the projectile side, you need to go over here to the projectile side. So in PoE, there's an illusion of choice, but there is choice, but there's still an illusion that it's this super hard. You can do whatever you want, and you really can't. But the system in Diablo 2 allowed you to build pretty much however you wanted to build and play however you wanted to play. So let me just break this down real quick, just so it's really, really clear. Okay, we don't want items that's white items are 0 to 100 damage, blue items are 100 to 200 damage, gold items are 200 to 300 damage. We don't want that. Okay, that's not diverse. That's not complicated. I want to pick up if I have a blue item on, I want to pick up all blue items and all gold items, and I might even pick up a white item if I want to. Because the way it should work, or at least I would like it to work, is say, white items, they can do 1 damage to 100 damage, right? Okay, that's the damage roll that it can roll. It can roll anywhere from 1 to 100, right? And then blue items, they can roll from 1 to like 125. And then gold items can roll from 1 to 150. So if you get a white item, it might have 100 damage on it, right? Might have a max roll, and you might get a blue item that only has 25 damage on it, but it got a magical effect. And now you're thinking to yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. Should I take the magical effect? Should I take the extra 75 damage? What should I do? I don't know. I'm going to try out both of them. Let's see how it works. It shouldn't just be, oh, I got a blue item, so now my blue item's just better than my white item. Oh, I got a gold item, so now I'm just throwing these blue items away because my gold item's better than my blue item. It shouldn't just be like that. When I get a gold item and I have blue items on, I should look at the gold item and be like, well, is this better than my blue item? Okay, well, it has around the same amount of damage, but what about the effect? Is it +1 to whatever stat I need, or +1 attributes here, or is it gonna help me with the build I'm running right now? If not, I should just throw away that gold item or salvage it and keep my blue item. The reason why this system is really good, because it would be multi-layered. So you would start off, as you start off, you'd be like, okay, well, I got this character. Well, I'm going to go down this route right now. And then when I get up to like around this level, then I'm going to start building this way, and I'm going to have a certain build. And then when I get up to this level, I'm going to make another build. Then when I get max level, I'm going to make this build. And then when I want to go all the way to the end game, I'm going to make this build. So you'd have all these different builds you'd have to make, and the game would be more complex, and it would complexity is a good thing as long as it's simple. And that's kind of what Diablo always was. It was a simple game that was complex. Also, making decisions that you make in Diablo is part of the Diablo experience. So when you make a character and you mess up a little bit and you get to the end game, you're like, dang, man, I wish I put 2 more into my strength, and then I could have wore this, or 2 more into life and I'd have a little bit more life. Then you go back and you make another character. This is part of the fun thing about Diablo. Most people who play Diablo, or that I know, had like as many characters as you could have. They had the max amount of characters. Another thing I want to talk about itemization is sets. Okay, sets have been prevalent for all through Diablo 3. Okay, so what I wanted to say about sets is I don't want to see any 5-piece, 6-piece, 4-piece sets. I want sets to be small. I want 3-piece sets, 2-piece sets. I want to be able to customize my character. I don't want to have to use the cookie cutter build. If I don't want to use the cookie cutter build, I can use whatever build I want, and I can still accomplish the goal I want, because the game hopefully won't be based on how fast can I go. One of the things about Greater Rifts that I did not ever like was the fact that there was a time limit. I always felt like it should be how far can you go, not how fast can you go, because then you open up different builds. You know, you might want to play a tank. You might want to play this way. You might want to play that way. It shouldn't always be about how much damage I can do and how fast. Not to say that you can't have things in the game where this might be time limited or this might be time limited to put a little rush on it to make you feel like, oh, I'm in terror. If I don't finish this in time, I'm going to die. That's something. But you know, the greater rift system shouldn't be timed. It shouldn't be. You know, maybe they should keep time of it, but it shouldn't be a time limit where if you don't do it in this amount of time, you just that doesn't make any sense because you limit how many builds you could do. That means everybody's got to have the meta build. Everybody's got to have this cookie cutter build because it's all about how fast can you do it. And if you only get 10 minutes to do this riff, you know, you got to use this build right here because if you don't use this build right here, you'll never do it in 10 minutes. You know, I think that was a big part of what was missing in Diablo 3 because, like, back in the day when Greater Rifts first started, you know, like, doing like a level 60 was like super hard. And then people eventually got to 100. And now people are doing like 130s or whatever people are doing right now, you know, like, there could have been builds back in the day that could have did, say, when everybody was at a 60, they might have been able to do a 70, but you know, because their damage wasn't high enough to speed them through the greater rift that I think was only like 15 minutes or something like that, or 10 minutes or whatever, they wasn't able to finish the rift because it was time based. But like if you make it where it's not about being time based, you know, it's about how high can you go and then maybe keeping a time on that. So on the leaderboard, it might say, "Oh, this guy did a level 99, and it took him 33 minutes to do it." And then this person down here, he might have did a level 70, and it only took him 2 minutes to do it. You know, the guy that did the 70 at 2 minutes, his achievement is just as good as the guy who did, you know, a level 99 or a level 90 or whatever at 33 minutes, you know, because this guy did hit that level so fast. His build is like lightning quick and can farm really fast. But then also the guy who did the level 90 and it took him like 33 minutes or whatever like that, his build is really, really good too because, you know, he's got a lot of survivability. He's got a lot of skills to deal with lots of situations. He's a jack of all trades build or you know, he's tanky or whatever. Basically what I'm trying to get to is the whole problem with greater rifts, I feel, was the limitations of the time. You know, I think that just controlled how you played the game, and that made people feel like you had to play the game the way they wanted you to play it. You didn't have a choice. You couldn't, you know what, I'm just gonna play this build right here. This build is really cool. I really like this build. And then you play that build and then you can't get on the leaderboard. And then you can't there's no friend board either. So, you know, there needs to be a friend board. You need to be able to see all your friends and what level they've achieved and how long it took them to do it. I mean, I think that's just core to the whole Diablo thing, you know? You know, in Diablo 2, it was that race to see who could get to 99 faster every season, you know, and people would try to get there really fast. And you know, you tell your friends, oh, I'm getting the 99 this year or this season or whatever. And you never get the 99, but you got to level 90 this season, and you never been to level 90 before. You made a bunch of characters before. You had 60s and 70s and 80s, but you never played one character long enough to get to 90. You know, and you know, in Diablo 2, it was like if you would die, man, you would lose a lot of your bar, man. You know, it was like, you know, it was that win lose thing. Like you went out into the world, but it was dangerous. So if you died, you felt it, you know. So it was like this everlasting struggle to survive. So when you put like a level cap like 40 on it, it's like I don't feel like I'm trying to survive out here in the woods at level 40. So the 99 system to me was always the better system. It was one of those feelings that you had that you was higher level than all your other friends. You know, that felt great. You know, I don't want to be farming paragons, but if I can farm levels, yeah, I'll take that. I mean, if getting to 99 was a challenge, that would be so awesome. I mean, that's part of what made seasons so great in Diablo 2. You know, I think we got away from that in Diablo 3, and I think we just some things need to go backwards to go forwards. You know, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, the level 40 thing just That just such a turn off, man. That just sounds so terrible to me. Now, one thing I want to clarify, and please don't curse me out in the comment section. Please listen to the whole thing I'm about to say. A lot of people, they always hold Diablo 2 up like, oh, Diablo 2 is the greatest game ever. Diablo 2, Diablo 2, Diablo 2. We love Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is the greatest game ever. Okay, now I just want to be clear about something. Most of you people who are saying that, you guys came in at Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, which was the expansion, or you played after the expansion came out. Okay, like if you would have been like me and you played Diablo 2, the original game, it was pretty terrible when it came out. Okay, a lot of people was going back to Diablo 1, and it wasn't until the expansion, Diablo 2, what was it called? Lord of Destruction, and to everybody joined together and was like, wow, this game is actually really good. So I just want people to realize that in Diablo 3, they took a step back. They went back to what the issues was wrong with Diablo 2 in the first place. And you know, when they went to Reaper of Souls, they tried to fix those things, but they had all these different conflicting. Well, how are we going to do the items? Well, how are we going to do the progression? Well, how are we going to do this? Well, how are we going to do this? And it was just all jumbled up. Okay, Diablo 3 had a lot of great ideas. Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls had a lot of great ideas too. Greater Rifts, okay, awesome. Okay, they're awesome. The way they were implemented, not so great. Okay, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing about being able to go from anywhere on the map to anywhere on the map, you know, and do stuff all over the map and just open that world up. That was what Reaper of Souls was. That was great. But it also wasn't that awesome because it took away from the story mode. The story mode in Diablo 3 is actually pretty damn good. And you know, never playing the story anymore just feels weird. It just feels like, why am I not, you know, playing this level? There's all these levels in the game. So many levels in the game in Diablo 3. There's so much content in that game. But we don't even play it no more because when you put on adventure mode to the game, now we don't never go to Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5. We don't do none of that. All we do is rifts and bounties. That's it. The next thing I want to talk about, boys, is the boss fights. Okay, so Diablo and pretty much every ARPG, MMO, anything like that, any hack and slash kill people game has always been known to be, you know, the pinnacle is the boss fights. You know, when you get to this boss fight, it's hard, it's difficult, you die a bunch of times, you got to keep restarting, and then eventually you get through it, right? I just want uh complexity to the fights in Diablo 4. So when you get to a boss fight, I don't want it just to be burn this guy down so we don't have to go through his second phase or his third phase or his fourth phase and let's just get him out of here. You know, I don't want it to be where, okay, I'll give you a good example, all right, from Diablo 3 because that's what we have to give you an example of. So you're fighting against the Reaper of Souls, right? And he does some attack and he just swings in front of him, right? Or he does an attack and it does a circle attack around him, right? Okay, that's cool and everything like that. But what about those people that's 20 feet back shooting at him, right? Okay, you know what I'm saying? Yes, you can have projectiles going their way, but let's just sit here and think. There's so many more things that we could do. We could do stuff like um if you ever played League of Legends, they have a character called Mordekaiser, right? So this Mordekaiser, what he does, he has this ultimate ability where he puts you basically in this circle, and there's blood, basically, it's red blood stuff all around, and you can't get out of it, and you have to fight him. That would be something super really cool to put in Diablo 4. So you can have a boss, right? Where during his first phase, you know, obviously you're just burning him down and he's got all this stuff and he's moving from side to side to side. And you know, you maybe you get put into some type of time limit where if you don't get him from stage 1 to stage 2, he automatically goes straight into like stage 4 where he goes like hyper mode and he just kills everybody, right? But if you do get to stage 2, right, his stage 2 might be that Mordekaiser ulti, where, you know what I'm saying, he puts the melee characters in melee range in this circle, and the range characters, they're outside. Or maybe it's random, where maybe they take one melee character, one range character, and put them inside this circle, and everybody else is outside. And now the people outside, they're taking slow proc damage, and if The people inside don't do enough damage, then everybody on the outside dies, and then obviously eventually the people inside die as well. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I want Diablo 4 to think outside of the box. Diablo to me always was at the forefront. Diablo 1 was like a game that was like, there was never a game like this before. When we first played Diablo, it was like, wow. Diablo didn't sell like crazy copies. That's because a lot of parents wouldn't buy it for their kids. But everybody who had a computer knew about it, okay? Everybody that had a friend knew about it, okay? And you would go to your friend's house, your one friend that had the Diablo game, you would play it, or you sit there and you'd watch him play. That's how Diablo was. Diablo 2 was at the forefront. I want Diablo 4 to be at the forefront. I want Diablo 4 to come up with all types of mechanics that we've never seen before. I don't want the same mechanics as Diablo 3. Now, talking about mechanics. Now, I wanted to bring this up. I know a lot of people feel odd about this sometimes, but one of the things that made Diablo 2 so great was its complexity. It was a very simple game, but it was complex at the same time. And one of the complexities was sometimes you run into creatures, like you might be a fire build, right? I might be a rogue. I might be an Amazon or whatever it was, and be shooting fire arrows, right? And the whole pack is cool. I'm wrecking the whole pack, but there might be some monsters in there that's immune to fire damage. And since they're immune to fire damage, you know what I'm saying? I need to swap skills real quick. You know what I mean? Because you can have multiple skills on your bar because you leveled your skills up. Something that should be in Diablo 4, where your skills level up over time. You know, and you can switch skills real quick, and you frost out those guys, and then you switch back to your fire, and you finish firing the other guys. Obviously, your frost wouldn't do that much damage because you've been specking into fire, but you could kill those few guys and then get with everybody else. Or you can have mobs that's immune to physical damage, or you can have mobs that's immune to cold damage, or mobs that's immune to wind damage, or lightning damage, or whatever type of damage. You put complexity in the game where one set doesn't just roll everything. That doesn't make any sense. I want to say this, okay? I want to clarify this just a little bit. Like, say I'm playing with my Amazon, right? And I'm shooting fire arrows out, right? I'm doing fire damage, but I'm also doing physical damage as well. Only some of the damage is fire, right? The majority of it at the end game probably will be fire, but it's still some physical, some fire. So everything is still taking damage. It's just that the stuff that's immune to fire ain't taking much damage at all. When you have mobs that have different immunities like that, it brings complexity to the game. Unlike in Diablo 3 where there's reflect damage, okay? Reflect damage is something that I don't want in the game ever again. I don't never want reflect damage to be something that's ever in Diablo ever again. That whole aspect of the game ruins the game because you see something that's reflect damage, you just go around it. Like, I'm not even going to deal with that. It's reflect damage, just go around. There shouldn't be a mob in the game that you don't want to kill because is that much of a harshness on the team that you're gonna just, especially if you was a demon hunter or something. If you was a demon hunter in Diablo 3 vanilla, you know what I'm saying, anything with reflect damage, you walk up to it, hit it one time, you're dead. So I don't want reflect damage at all in Diablo 4. I don't want reflect damage in any Diablo game ever again. Maybe you can have a boss that has a phase where he does some type of reflect damage, but reflect damage on just regular mobs in the game, elites and stuff like that, that makes no sense. Don't ever do that again. Please don't ever do that ever, 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 ever again. Another thing that I wanted to speak on about Diablo 3, and I know this is a whole new team. This is Diablo 4, they're not Diablo 3, but what I wanted to say was I wanted you guys to actually take the time to make the game that, at its best. I don't want any cut corners. I don't want, like you guys say right now, you said you're going to do 5 zones, right? That was the same thing they said about Diablo 3. We're going to do 5 acts, right? But when the game came out, it only had 4 acts. And, it wasn't until Reaper of Souls came out that we learned that the actual Reaper Souls expansion was actually supposed to be part of Diablo 3 when it first came out. That the monk didn't have some of his skills, that the demon hunter didn't have some of his skills, that the witch doctor didn't have some of his skills that he was supposed to have, that the Act 5, which we call Act 5, was actually supposed to be Act 4, and Act 4 in the game where you go to heaven was supposed to be Act 5. Okay, we don't want that. We don't want none of that to happen again. We want you guys to take as much time as you need to do this. I know you guys don't really have control over that publishing and all that stuff, and the people at the top, they have control over that stuff. But what I'm asking for is a complete game. I want the game the way you guys see it in its complete fashion. I don't want a part of the game, and when I'm playing it, I can feel that something's missing. I don't want that. Okay, I don't want that part. I'm gonna try to keep it short, even though I got a lot more stuff I really want to say. It's already been 40-something minutes, so I'm gonna try to speed this up as fast as I can, even though I'm not gonna be able to say everything I want. Now, one of the things I would really like in the game is secrets. Stuff that's in the game that you guys don't necessarily tell us is in the game, and we have to go out and find out for ourselves. I just think that is a really cool aspect of the game. Um, that's just a really cool aspect of the game, man. I mean, it's just super awesome. The next thing I would like to ask for in the game is Ubers. I cannot tell you how much Ubers was to me, like what Ubers meant to me in Diablo 3. Okay, so when you farmed up all these little parts and you got all these parts together and you put it all together into this little key and you go into this room and you get this random boss that's so Uber, and and you're like, oh my god, you and your homeboys are fighting in there, and you're dying and you're like, I can't get it. And like that whole aspect is just awesome. I really would like a return to Ubers. Bring Ubers back, okay? And not just one boss or two bosses. We need a bunch of Uber bosses. In fact, every boss in the game, that's in the game, every major boss in the game should have an Uber. And it would be really cool to have these Uber bosses in the game, similar to like the way we did Greater Rifts in Diablo 3, where you put a key in. You might be, okay, I'm putting a level 139 key in, and then we're going to go into this Greater Rift, right? Well, there should also be, an Uber level 5 or Uber level 10. And these Ubers should be incredibly hard, and nobody should be able to get to like 10. 10 would be like the max, right? Okay, and 10 is so difficult. It might take 2 years, 3 years for people to ever get to that far. It should take significant time. Doing an Uber level 1 should be like the top 10% of the community, and then once you start getting up to like Uber level 2, Uber level 3, Uber level 4, most 99% of the people who play the game shouldn't even be able to do that. This is content that you put in the game that most people won't never be able to do, but you keep them interested because they watching the streamers stream stuff that they're doing these Ubers that they can never do. They're doing these dungeons that they can never do, and people are like, wow, this is so awesome, this is so cool. Every time I go into this Uber, I get wrecked. But these guys are able to defeat it, man. It's so cool. I think what I'm trying to say is that we need more Blizzard to streamer to YouTuber, content creator, stuff like that, like put into the game. Okay, and not just into the game, but we need Blizzard content creator interaction where they kind of like push this interaction between the content creators and the people who are playing the game or watching on Twitch or watching on YouTube, because there's content that they can't do. Okay, it should never be where in Diablo where everybody can just do everything. It's easy peasy, fresh and freezy. The game should be difficult. It should be hard. Most people should never probably even beat the game. Most people should never. I say 50% of people should never even beat the game. Let's just get that out the way. 50% of the people should never even beat the game. Just like in Path of Exile, where probably 90% of the people who play that game never fight the in-game boss. They never fight Shaper. It should be just like that. In Diablo 4, 90% of the population never ever reached that part. That's how us content creators, we build relationship with our viewers, because they see stuff that we're doing that they can't do. You know, that should always be in the game. It shouldn't be, well, I'm just doing greater riff 179 now, and nobody that's watching me stream can do 179. That's lame. There needs to be something more interactive, something more involved, like the Ubers or dungeons that don't just scale infinitely up to like a bazillion. You know, they might scale to level 15 or level 10. But if you try to get to that level 10, that's that mythic plus impossible stuff that nobody can freaking do. And just because you got the damage or the items you could do it, don't mean you can actually do it. You know, it's like it takes weeks and months of practice and learning these fights, and you know, it's not just the items, it's the skill. That's what it's gotta be. It's gotta be a skill. Well, boys, I'm gonna end this video, man. We almost on an hour here. I don't know if I've even made a video this long before, and I haven't even scratched the surface really on the things that I wanted in D4. I could sit here and make a video probably that's about 6 hours long. Um, I tried to make this video all week long, and every time I did this video, it was like 2 hours, and I go back over and do another 2 hours. And I go back over, it's another 2 hours. It's like no matter what I could do, I could not get it under 2 hours. So I'm not gonna just put everything I want into the video because nobody's gonna watch a 2 hour long video. I'm just gonna put these main points in that I could that that hopefully help the game out. Now, I know none of my subscribers stay to the end of this video. I mean, I think most people watch my video for like 3-4 minutes, then they turn off. But I think that's how most YouTube videos are, so I ain't upset. But if you guys did stay to the end, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys something for staying to the end, okay? The first 3 people who comment in my comment section what I'm about to say, okay, I'm going to give them a $10 gift card. In fact, I'm giving 3 $10 gift cards away. So the first 3 people could get it. And all you got to say is hashtag G Squad D4 Life. It's right here on top of the screen, boys. And if you do that, I'm giving you guys your $10 giveaway. Now, boys, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, I don't know what to tell you. And like always, boys, peps out. Peace, love, and hair grease.